He's back.
Yelling, I just have a loud voice, so now I'm like very subconscious about it. I'll be one of them tall guys that whisper.
Well, if you're gonna put a dislike, then I feel like there's an obligation that you gotta leave a comment.
I thought you were going to say about the lizard people.
No, I have no desire. I really don't care about lizard people at all.
You should. They're eating children.
Oh my gosh. I guess because there are aspects of it where I'm critical of Israel. The history of the area, it doesn't matter to me.
What's their intention of attacking Israel? And when someone says, my intention is to exterminate every one of you on the planet.
Right. Where I push back though is Israel is still the one that pushes the button. Righteous justice, and then there's a line, and then then it turns into vengeance. And I think they've been in vengeance the whole time. Ready or not. Here we go. All right, let me bring up. There he is. He's back. Let me switch. There we go. Now we're good.
Yeah, I'm alive.
He's here. He's back in the hot seat. Looking a little. I think you're looking a little leaner.
Should.
All right, make sure you get that mic real close to you.
Better?
Yeah, I think so. Your voice is always just a lot lower volume.
I try not to yell into the mic because at home I always get yelled at for yelling, and I'm not yelling. I just have a loud voice, so now I'm like very subconscious about it. I'll be one of them tall guys that whisper.
I think you should just let it go. Loud is better than not loud enough, I think, because if I'm talking at a good volume and you're talking at a low volume, and then someone turns whatever they're listening to up to hear you, and then all of a sudden I come in booming in, and
and then they gotta turn it up and down. Yeah, it's kind of like those commercials where like you're watching a TV show and you're on like 15 because the TV show's real quiet, and then the commercial comes on, and blows out your speakers.
Yeah,
the car salesman commercial. Our TV does that a lot.
Did you realize how long it's been since you've been on here with me? I didn't even realize.
2 months.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it had been that long.
Like April
9th was when that other one was published.
Well, we had vacations and stuff go on between there.
But honestly, I think now here's the thing: is I don't know if the majority of the audience only wants to hear you, or if the majority of the audience just wants us to hear us together, because your videos have done the best when you're with me.
What I've heard is just together, because we we've known each other for our whole lives, so it's like we're kind of the same person, but opposites at the same time.
Well, and
twins without being twins,
right? And I know that it's like easier to just flow because of that.
Yeah.
So I talked a little bit about that with Ron, where I've been slow getting other guests on because it just doesn't it's not as feels way different.
Not natural.
Yeah. And when I schedule someone, then there's this realization that, I actually have to like show up and talk to them.
I have to have something to talk about.
Yeah. I'm like, oh man, I got to prepare. But each time I'm getting a little bit better, I think, at it.
I was ungrounded, so
that's good.
My agent said I was allowed out of the house and to play again.
Thankful for that. Thankful for that. I'm looking. So I published. So Ron's will have come out by the time we publish this one, because I'll publish them in order. But I published mine and Candace on the whole mansplaining feminism.
Yeah.
Did you listen to any of that?
I haven't got to listen to anything in a while. I try to do like a social media cleanse there for a little bit to try to get focused on some stuff, with
Right.
everything going on. So I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention. But with that kind of not getting better, but better, I've got to do a lot of catch up. So I want to see the one you do with Blaine Bowman. Was that
Yeah.
yeah. I want to watch
Blaine.
that one too.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, I gotta get caught up.
It's interesting. So the one I did with Blaine got a dislike.
That's good.
I know. Like I think that's good when I get dislikes. And then the one that I just published yesterday with Candace, and it only has 23 views, but it already has a dislike.
That's good too.
But here's my thing about dislikes is,
why didn't you like it?
Well, if you're gonna put a dislike, then I feel like there's an obligation that you gotta leave a comment. Like where did we, or send me a message or something if it's someone that knows me.
Somebody that subscribes to you that just doesn't like you, and they're like, I want to dislike every video he puts out. You'll have one dislike on every video.
Yeah. Well, I don't though. So
yeah, they just gotta go back.
Maybe. I don't know, but I feel like if you're gonna put a dislike, you have an obligation to at least, like, what did you not like about it, or where did we get it wrong, or like add to the discussion.
But should you worry about that? I mean, it'd be great.
It's not that I worry about it. It's that I want to continue the discussion about it. Because I was thinking the other day it'd be really cool to like have follow-up videos and just go through comments and just, from different videos maybe, or from the previous video. I just don't have that engagement yet.
Right. So how they post somebody's comment up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even have to post the comment. I guess
you got to post the comment. That's what everybody likes to see.
Okay, I guess that's true.
Good or bad, you can, or if it's even a question, you can say, "Hey, that's a good question," or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know. So it's, what did you not like about our discussion about the?
There could be some rando thing too, like that one rando that didn't
that said
like
boring.
me very more.
Well, at least he
I know
said
I'm
something.
Just saying he didn't like.
That's what I'm saying. He disliked it and then told me that it was boring. So all right, thanks, dude.
No, the other one that like gave us this big long spiel.
Oh, yeah, that was on the. Yeah, but even that, I'm like, okay, good.
No, yeah, that's
thanks for
awesome.
Leaving something. Yeah, so so this guy, I assume left a dislike, and all he wrote in the comment was boring. All right, at least I know where you stand. I'd rather have that.
The more popular you get, the more like heat you're gonna get. Like,
yeah, for sure.
If you watch these ones that have like, why do I keep saying like 72,000 plus? Man, do they get a lot of hate? Oh my goodness.
Well, and when you get listeners that actively engage, because that's one thing that I've noticed about even large channels, is they may have, when you look at the number of subscribers compared to the number, like the ratio of views, and then the ratio of engagement and comments, it's a huge distance. So if you get a channel that has maybe I can pull up an example here. You can't see it yet.
If you put a mirror behind you, I could see it.
That's a really good idea, actually.
No, really, the live on the back is kind of reflecting your computer. I was like, a mirror right there. I could almost see what you're pulling up.
Oh my goodness, that would be such an easy, until I get fancier and get like an extra monitor or something. That would be so easy.
And nobody would know unless they watch this right now.
Dude.
It's an Easter egg for future viewers.
Dude, that is a good idea. We might have to do that next time. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a YouTube channel that I watch a lot. It's called Breaking Points. Have you ever heard of them?
Yes. I haven't watched them, but yeah, I've heard of them.
So I like watching them because they're an independent news source,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't always agree with their. Actually, there's a lot of times I don't agree with their takes on things, but especially because the girl, she is well, if you want to bring it up on your phone, maybe you can look at the same thing I'm looking at. Maybe you could do it that way. So I'm going to share this screen. Crystal and Sagar. So Crystal is pretty. She's the just go to YouTube and search Breaking Points.
Yeah,
I'm just on their channel page.
Yeah, which one you want me to pull up?
Not a specific video. I'm just on the channel. But Crystal, she's really progressive in her viewpoint. So I don't agree much with her on her take on things. However, she's not pushing the progressive agenda in the way that she reports facts. Like, they do a pretty good job of not being biased. I mean, I think it's impossible to be completely unbiased, but they're pretty good at reporting the facts. They're pretty good at making sure they've really vetted something before they report it so that they can feel confident in it. So that's why I trust them. Sagar's more of a populist. He's he would probably lean conservative, but he's I guess maybe a populist might be more than a conservative. He's not necessarily, but they disagree on a lot. So then if you look at, look, they have 1.2 million subscribers. And then if you look at the way that their views
88,000.
They vary, right?
Yeah.
Some of them get up into this like hundreds of thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like, I'd say that looks like maybe average. Like,
I think like 167 so far is the biggest one I've seen so far. So
yeah, it looks like maybe in the hundreds.
366 a year ago. But yeah.
Oh yeah, this one's got 458. So it probably just depends on the subject.
Yeah.
See this, there's one from 11 months ago, Asa Hutchinson. I think he was wasn't he running in the presidential election for like a hot minute?
I could not tell you. I don't even know who's running for president right now besides the two.
Well, so that video only got 35,000. So people weren't really interested in that. So, but then if you look at, so what is that, like 10% of their subscribers, right? On average, their views is 10% or less of their subscribers. And then if we go to, let's go here.
There are some experiences you only dream about. And there are
commercial.
Yeah. Why did it come through the speakers? That has me freaking out a little bit. Roadcaster.
testing.
I can hear it in there.
I know, it's coming through there. All right, I don't have time to figure that out. But and then we look at the comments. So the comments have 1,600 comments. So
that's even way less.
Yeah. So to have,
that's like less than 1%.
So even to have just like 2 or 3 comments on one of my videos would be a lot. Like,
you're groundbreaking.
Yeah, like whoa, like that is awesome engagement.
How many dislikes they got?
It doesn't show their dislikes. It only shows their likes. They would be able to see their dislikes, but I don't think YouTube shows what other people's dislikes are. So
come on, YouTube, quit being soft.
So anyways, yeah,
I would like to know the algorithm that YouTube uses, and if they could, I'm sure YouTube could, but if you could ever find out, as let's say there are 400,000 viewed one, I wonder if that was, so YouTube will throw in random people's videos like as a headliner,
right,
to get them more views, and that's how you get like strange people watching your,
right. It'll like test out your video for certain crowds and stuff.
And also depending on what you're talking about will throw it into people that have, just like Facebook and Instagram. Like if you're watching a bunch of workout videos, all of a sudden you're going to see a bunch of workout Instagrammers and influencers and workout supplements and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
like I've been on my health food journey kind of thing, trying to better my choices. And so now my feed is just full of like, overnight oats stuff and, protein shakes and alternative meals and all this stuff. So I wonder if that corresponds with more views. So let's say you talk about something hot. Let's say in November, you're going to start talking about the presidential election coming up or afterwards or whatever.
Right.
All of a sudden they throw it out there and all of a sudden you hit like 10K views where your average is like 500.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if that helps.
I think, well, definitely, because it does take into account the type of engagement that it's getting, and that's how you build the channel. So sometimes I'll get like a random new subscriber here and there. I think I'm up to 96, so I'm almost at 100. Getting there, 96, yeah. And then as that grows and as you get that active engagement from people that are subscribers and coming back and watching the full video, because the length of time that it's watched too makes a difference. There's all kinds of things that go into what triggers that type of algorithm response. So then if they push it out and it starts to gain traction, it'll keep pushing it out in front of more people. And then, so then that's kind of how the viral happens is, and then people are sharing it, if it's something really good. And then, and so then the algorithm just keeps doing that. So likes, I think even dislikes, well, I don't want to say that for sure, but I think any kind of engagement helps the algorithm, helps your video. Definitely likes. I don't know. Maybe dislikes don't help it, but it seems like even if someone, even though they dislike it, if they watched it all, like the algorithm would recognize that and be like, oh, this is still a video that people will engage in.
So that one dislike, that your videos keep showing up on his thing. He's like, I don't like this.
Well, maybe for him personally, it wouldn't, like the algorithm would recognize that and say, okay, I won't show you stuff like this anymore.
Just say, that's funny.
But the overall algorithm for me, I don't know if dislikes help or don't help. So anyways, if you put a dislike, I think you owe me an explanation. And if anything, it would at least help make the discussion more interesting. Help me I could revisit it. And because I've said before, I'm open to being wrong. So tell me what I'm wrong about. Let's talk through it. And so that's kind of my vision for the channel, is that there would be that kind of conversations going on where there are people that are watching that disagree with me a lot, but they still want to be a part of the discussion.
I just don't think we've reached that far yet.
No, for sure not. I mean, it's difficult to, it's just, it just takes probably a long time.
But does it? Like you hear these people talk about it. I know some of them, like to get up to the millions, it takes 5 years or whatever. But I feel like some of them talk about like how it's taken a year. It takes a year to get like a good traction, and then when you start getting paid like the big monies at these influencers, it's like 5 years, and it's like posting every day on Instagram,
that's the point of that I'm at right now, is
stuff like that,
is pushing out the content. So I've taken big breaks in between. I go through these lulls of, I don't feel like going down there and editing, and but then in my head I'm still thinking like, but you need to, or else you're not gonna, because that's to put out content is how you feed it, because when you put out something new, YouTube will test it in front of people. So that's how you're acquiring new subscribers, because YouTube's testing it, all the new content. So if you're constantly pushing out new content, your content is going out in front of more people. And then every once in a while, if you capture someone that's like, oh, that's very interesting, I like that, and then they go back and start watching your other content, and like it kind of it's like a snowball effect. So right now I'm just like this little snowflake though still.
Yeah.
So, but keep grinding. I got so I just put out that one with Candace, which I almost didn't even put it out. I was kind of being a chicken about it. But also too, I was kind of using this as an excuse because we watched the clip that we were commenting on and I had it on the speakers, but it didn't get recorded into the broadcast. So it was just silence and just us staring at watching the clip in silence.
Your blooper reel.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And then I went through like a week of like, I don't feel like recording a voiceover and putting the audio in and cutting it. I was just being kind of just self-deprecating. I don't know if that's the right word, and so then finally I got down here one day and I was like, all right, so I've recorded a voiceover, I cut it in, I spliced it, all this stuff. And it seems like it worked out okay. So I put that out, and then I've got Ron's that I'm working on. I get that out soon.
You think about using like a laptop so you don't have to come downstairs? I know you if a voiceover and stuff, you might have to, but
yeah, I
for the normal stuff.
When I was originally purchasing stuff, I thought about getting like an iMac Pro instead and recording through that instead of getting the Mac Mini. The Mac Mini was just more cost effective in the setup that I wanted, but I did want that kind of portability.
I don't think you have to get a Mac to do it. I think you could get.
Well, it just makes it's just easy. But you're right. I don't need a Mac. I can do it on other types of laptops, which, so I've thought about that. Trying to make
like an Acer. I mean,
trying to make the workflow
or whatever they're called
easier to where, or at least eliminating the excuse of the work of like having to come down here.
Gotta figure out how you could get it a tax return on it. I don't know how, like, because there's a lot of streamers and YouTube content people. I don't know if you got to make so much or what that criteria is, but you could put it towards.
That's interesting. I mean, I've got obviously a lot into the stuff that I have now, probably a few $1,000s.
I don't know anything about it, but they obviously pay taxes, and they probably have stuff that they can write off.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I wonder if I'd have to start. I don't know that having a YouTube channel would count as do I have to start like an LLC or something?
I don't know, but
like MyTooSense media company.
I mean, they're only $125
to do that
for an LLC. Yeah,
it might not be a bad idea. MyTooSense media company.
We have a couple friends that own
media
group, and they really pushed me and Courtney trying to get our own business because they're like, that's the only, you can work your life away for someone else, but truly to make money, you have to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And the guy that we've talked to that really helped us out, he's like, just start one. Like, who cares what you're doing? Print shirts, whatever you want to do, just do something. And if it doesn't work, then you stop the business and you go do something else. Because they started small, and now their business is worth millions. And but everything they do, he says, is tied up in their business. So their house is under their business, their cars are under their business. So on paper, it only looks like they make like $2,000 or $3,000 a year, which everybody's like, oh, they're doing a tax loop or whatever. But really, it's super risky. Because if anything happens to that business, they lose everything, and they can't even go get a house loan because it shows that they only make $2,000 a year.
Right.
So yeah, right now it looks great, but if anything ever happens, and so there's a risk there. But also, if you invest your money properly while you own that business, then you probably don't have to worry about it. But
yeah,
that's how Donald Trump and Bill Gates and all these people. They only show that they make $50,000-$60,000 a year and they're making billions. It's because everything's tied up in their
actual business dealings. It's interesting. I've thought about that a lot too, especially with the channel. And I mean, there was some part of starting the channel where hey, let's see what this could turn into. if there was enough interest in, and if I if people cared enough about what I had to say about stuff, I guess that's the other thing too, is staying relevant, staying interesting. There's some things that I sit on too long, like that thing several weeks ago, the one that Candace and I recorded, and I sat on it probably for too long, to where now it's not that relevant anymore. It's a month old. It's over. So there is something to jumping on hot topics. But I felt like we recorded it. I did it. I'm just going to put it out. There's no harm in putting it out, I don't think. But that is something that I've thought about in terms of, obviously, I have a vision, like and with the church and working full time for the church, I don't feel like I'm working for somebody else in that sense. So, but there's also, I have that kind of, I've been like praying about having an entrepreneurial mindset.
Well, that's biblical.
Yeah.
Like if you look at all, the people in Old Testament, Solomon, David, all them, they were entrepreneurs. Like they were all about owning your own business, obviously giving all of it to God, not all your money, but all your glory and all all the blessings come from God. God wants you to take the risks, and owning your own business is a huge risk.
Right.
And the people we talk to are also faith-based. So that's what they talk about, and I was like, yeah, Emmett's starting to mow a lawn. He looks at me and goes, have Emmett own his own business. Like start it up, Emmett's lawn business, whatever. And he's like, then you go buy a zero turn and put it under the business name. And now you have a zero turn. I'm like, can you do that? Like, it's scary to think like,
right,
can I go buy a $3,000 equipment because my son's mowing my our lawn?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter if he's mowing one lawn. Go have him mow grandma's lawn. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's like, that's how easy it is. Like, people think it's like you have to be Albert Einstein and like overthink everything and have to have everything planned out. He's like, you don't have to have anything planned out. Just do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, it's that easy. We still haven't done it, but because we're still, scared and like we don't know what we want to do and stuff like that. But
and easy is probably not the right word. It's simple.
Well, he's just saying it's not like you don't have to have an education. Yeah. You don't have to have all this stuff that people think you have to have. Like, you don't have to have your whole business planned out.
Yeah, it's possible without it. Yeah.
Now, there's probably easier. Like, if you have a great idea or something, just probably have a good business plan. But you can start out with nothing really but an idea.
Yeah.
And then $125.
Yeah.
At least that was the going rate the last time I looked. But
yeah. No, that's all. I mean, that's interesting stuff, I think. And I agree with all of it. My mindset has been shifting towards that for sure. And thinking about ways of getting Candace to be home, kind of full-time home, but maybe there's stuff that
you can hire for your business.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, trust me, I've heard it. I've said all these things. That's what goes through my mind now. It's like,
well, and if it was something that we're running together, where she's still, it's not like she wouldn't be doing anything, obviously.
No, but you could list her as an employee, and then that's a, kind of a tax write-off. And then with her, it's, she brings in some money, and that's write-offs there, and it's just really just plain, trying to get all you can from your hard work and all that stuff.
Well, that's what it boils down to is the hard work aspect of it. Like, it's simple, but you got to work, right?
You got to be self-motivated. That's the biggest thing, and that's the hardest thing.
Well, that's why I've been struggling with the channel.
Well, yeah, everybody struggles, especially nowadays, is self-motivation, because everything's so easy to do. Almost like if you can't leave your couch, it's almost like I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, now they got lawnmowers that you GPS your yard or whatever they do, and you buy this robot and it'll mow your lawn.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I am kind of lazy.
It's the world we live in now.
I know. I constantly fight against it. I really admire people that are just go-getters.
Like homesteaders.
I mean, I guess I don't know
admire
that.
homesteaders. It's full of my feed too, like
Yeah,
farmers and stuff like that, like doing it hard work. Like they want a chicken coop, they go and build their own chicken coop. They don't go buy it from Home Depot or whatever. They build their own chicken coop, or they build their own fence, or whatever they want. They are doing it themselves, and it's like here I'm like looking on Amazon,
and if they don't know how to, they figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm on Amazon like $350 for a chicken coop. That ain't too bad. And I'm like, but I don't want to go out there and take care of the chickens.
Yeah, exactly.
How much do I have to hire somebody?
I know. I think about that too. I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to have a farm and do horses, and then I'm like, oh man, I have to like do like work all the time with them, So, well, that's all fun stuff. What else is there anything that you want to share about your health journey?
Not yet. It'll come in a later episode. I'm working on some things. I kind of want to start my own video vlog.
Yeah.
To kind of describe my journey, because I've realized that a lot of people go through I'm very unique. I'm sure other people have the same issues I am, but in that world, it's a unique situation. Because even though it relates to a diet, basically I have to cut things out. It might not do anything at all because of my disease, which is actually causing it, where other people have a different catalyst that cause that disease and they can cut that out. And so then it helps them kind of repair and do stuff, where mine, it's just the actual disease causing the issue, and I can't get rid of that.
I gotcha.
So we can do another show that goes more into detail, especially when I have all the answers. So I don't have all the answers yet.
I gotcha. All right, cliffhanger.
Yeah, make you come back and watch.
Yeah, some of this stuff on here is old stuff.
Oh, you're looking at the list?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny, it's still relevant, is I put the thing on there about California, and I know a lot of people in Ohio, and a lot of I feel like a lot of conservatives would agree that California raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour for fast food is extremely ridiculous. And then, even though that was a long time ago, I read a recent article that people in California working at a McDonald's are making more than teachers that are teaching classes in, let's say, Texas.
So it's I think I got it here. What you're talking about, California minimum wage hike plane. Share it.
I hope they share. I try to test them out and stuff, and they I feel like they worked at least on my phone.
Yeah, this one's working.
I do everything on my phone.
So they increased the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour. And it says that it's primarily aimed at improving the standard of living for these workers in a state that's notoriously expensive. However, there's concern that this new law, which went into effect on April 1st, may have more complicated impact on local economy.
Like, why do they think that would help?
Do
they not understand what is causing the economy to be crap? And it's not the pay I can't even say it. Pay wages. There we go.
Well,
Elmer Fudd there for a second.
It's one of those things where the cost of living is high because of the government. You could probably make that argument. The cost of living is high because of the government. And so then the government now is increasing wages to try to fix something that they've caused. And is that really the right solution?
It's not. It's kind of like the medical field. Like they're treating the symptoms instead of trying to defeat the disease.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't see any end of it, because you could raise it up, and corporations are going to adjust for that.
Right.
So then,
Yeah, because they're not gonna allow you wages to cut into what their profit is,
right.
especially if they're publicly traded. They're legally mandated to do things to increase profits for their shareholders.
Which I think is ridiculous.
I mean, it's literally
That's
how
so bad.
it's designed.
I know it's so bad though.
So all it does is, for everyone, it increases the cost of goods and the services. So, people they'll that want to see a minimum hike like that support that, they'll want to force the companies to keep
it.
Right, to eat the profit.
Or they think that's what's going to happen.
I don't think they think that's what's going to happen. I think they think that the government should force the companies to make it happen. But how do you do that on one side where, like I said, if they're publicly traded, they're legally obligated on that side to increase profits? So how can you force a company to not focus on profits while at the same time forcing them to focus on profits? And maybe they say, well, they shouldn't be publicly traded. I don't know. There's probably all kinds of ways of trying to get around the argument, but the fact is that that's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what should happen. A lot of things is kind of how I see it. It's like, well, that doesn't really matter what should happen. What's actually going to happen? What's actually going to happen is the companies will just raise the prices of everything, and then everyone has to pay more, which really doesn't solve the cost of living issue because, so I don't know.
I wonder how much a Big Mac is in California. Because that's what everybody goes to. Like, I wonder how much a Big Mac is.
How much is a Big Mac in California? See, Google knew what I was looking
know. That's scary.
for. All right. It says, as of May 26, 2024, a Big Mac in California cost $5.11. In 2019, the average price of a Big Mac in the United States was $4.39. But by May 2024, it had increased to $5.29, a 20% increase.
I guess that ain't too bad.
Well, I guess we can switch this to Ohio maybe for comparison.
I'd still feel like $5 ain't crazy. I was thinking it's going to be like $10.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that far off from what it would be in Ohio, right? How much a Big Mac costs in every state? Well, it's almost $1 more.
In Ohio?
No, in California.
Oh.
Ohio is $4.29, this thing says.
Really, nobody should be eating Big Macs. I'm just
right. Well, that's the other thing.
Choose better to spend your money.
I don't really eat a lot of fast food. I really try to avoid it. So sometimes I think I don't really have a skin in the game in this. Because I don't care if Big Macs are more expensive. I don't know. I guess my kids do eat.
Well, yeah.
McDonald's
groceries,
probably a couple times a month.
I guess I wonder if that's only affecting. I'm assuming it's only affecting fast food since it says fast food minimum wage.
Yeah, I don't know how that affects everything in general. I guess
groceries, but all those places are going to increase their prices just because they can. Like I read a statistic that groceries, and I should have put it in there because I don't know how accurate it is, but from 2023 to 2024, groceries went up 1,000%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
1,000.
Here's one thing that I remember about this. I don't know if it's going to say it in this article, but there were I remember there being on the California there were exceptions in what was considered a fast food restaurant.
That's what I was saying. I was wondering what it probably can't take tips.
Well,
counter service.
The thing that's hilarious about it is there's a specific, I want to say like maybe it's Panera or a place like that. Bakeries, I think, were excluded from being considered fast food. So then Panera, I guess, got thrown in as a bakery. But then there's like all this stuff that Gavin Newsom has some sort of like vested interest in Panera or something. Like there was, I don't remember exactly. I might be throwing out inaccurate rumors, but I know that it was something to do with that. That there were things that somehow had a connection to Gavin Newsom that were somehow excluded from it actually happening. I think it was Gavin Newsom. So, anyways, I don't have it here in front of me. That's why I need somebody that can see. I need a team. Why don't people just want to jump on board and be a part of this?
What do you want them to do? You said I need somebody, and
well, so that they can look it up while we're talking, because it's hard for me. I just can't. Multiple squirrels. California. Maybe I should just pause the recording or something, and then people don't have to watch me try to figure this out. California wage minimum wage 2024 increase exceptions. Maybe that'll give me what I want. No, see that I didn't. No, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, you can always cut this stuff out,
I guess. Here, let me try this. I'll just pause. All right, I'm back. Well, if I pause it, it just pauses it, and then it just picks up right where I unpause it. So I think I found this. Sure. All right. California Panera Bread restaurants will raise the minimum wage for its employees to $20 after owner Greg Flynn faced criticism on the franchise's exception from state-mandated pay hikes. So what was the connection with Panera Bread then? Oh, okay. You current... Seriously? All right. Flynn, the billionaire owner of what was considered the world's largest franchise with more than 2,600 restaurants, blah, 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 has been accused of benefiting from the carve-out as a former schoolmate and donor to California Governor Gavin Newsom's political campaigns. All right, that was the connection then. So maybe it was just coincidence, but
come on, bro.
A pretty odd coincidence,
yeah.
Right?
Come on, bro.
And it looks like, I mean, that was the beginning of May, so that was like a month after. Or no, wait, that says March. Never mind. So after all the backlash about Panera, must have been like, okay, we'll raise it too. I don't know, but interesting. All right, we can delete that one, I guess. Anything else you got to say about that?
Nope. Go through the list.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've been waiting for a long time to talk about Israel and Gaza with somebody.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you was going to say about the lizard people.
No, I have no desire. I really don't care about lizard people at all.
You should. They're eating children.
Oh my gosh.
That's how they stay young.
Reptilians. Courtney said at the ball fields yesterday when it was like super hot out, Candace said something. She was like, because you were saying like, I wasn't that hot or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Courtney told Candace that you were like a lizard, that you liked the heat. And I was like,
lizard people are fake.
What'd she say? Like, Jeff's admitted he's a reptilian.
We don't exist. That's a silly thing to say.
Yeah, I don't want to get into reptilians yet. I don't think. Maybe another day.
Oh, it's funny.
No, but I've been
Somebody said something
chomping
about
at the bit.
Queen Elizabeth being her. Anyways.
Being a reptilian. Stop it. We're not talking about reptilians. Stop trying to drag me into it.
They say they're in Gaza.
Now, if there's a Gaza connection, maybe we can talk about reptilians. But no, I tried to do a video by myself. That's another area that I'm struggling in. is I need a safety blanket. I need some kind of safety covering when talking about stuff, because it feels so weird just talking to the camera by myself.
Put another mirror up and look at yourself.
And look at myself. Didn't we talk about making like a cardboard cutout of you?
Yeah.
And then I just pretend I'm talking to you?
Or anybody. You could put someone famous here. Someone
on today's show, my guest.
Joe Rogan sitting here.
Yeah. Just to help me talk through something. So I've had this Israel Gaza stuff. I've been following it a lot too. And Breaking Points, some of it has to do with Breaking Points, and the other news source that I use for my daily news is called the President's Daily Brief. And it's with a guy that he's retired CIA, and he's on Joe Rogan's podcast pretty frequently. Anytime I check Joe Rogan maybe once a week to see who's on there. And if there's nobody interesting, I'm not someone that listens to him all the time. But he's one that I always listen to, because he'll give kind of his take on world events that are going on and things that are going on from his experience in the CIA. Now, obviously, he doesn't like reveal anything that's
right.
Well, I mean, would get him in trouble or whatever.
Yeah,
but
they're under oath.
Yeah. But he has a good perspective because he has been in a lot of countries. Like, he's been in countries doing things, so he can also talk about like what he believes is going on the intelligence side of things.
Right.
It's really cool perspective. Well, he started this, I don't know if it existed before him, but now he's been hosting. It's called the President's Daily Brief, and the premise behind it is, I guess, each day the president literally gets a briefing on everything that's happened in the world that night or the previous day or whatever since the last briefing. And it's very like to the point. Here's the facts that we know, this and that. He inserts a little bit here and there sometimes of his own kind of spin on things or whatever. But for the most part, these are the facts. So he's one that I listen to in the morning. It's kind of that like old school, like Walter Cronkite evening news, here's the news, where he just lays it out.
Yeah.
So so there's a lot of focus on Israel and Gaza, obviously, because there's a lot of that going on. Breaking Points has focused a lot on it. Crystal, very much so, is like very, very, very critical of Israel in a lot of things. And so she has a spin on things sometimes. And so then sometimes I match up what they're like, what's he say about it, what's Breaking Point saying about it. Sometimes they might be a little like their facts are off a little bit sometimes, and I'm kind of like, what's that about? And then usually eventually sometimes they do line up then. And anyway, so it's been on the forefront of a lot of the news that I've been consuming. And I've been waiting for an opportunity to talk about it with somebody. Because I couldn't do it by myself. And
don't cry about it. It's okay.
Yeah. But because there is, I guess because there are aspects of it where I'm critical of Israel. So I don't know. Have you been following it much?
I follow, like I said, I took a social media break. So I'm probably a month behind on like a lot of current things.
Yeah.
So we watch this thing. It's a homeschool thing. It's called World Watch News that we do for the kids. And they do show stuff that's going on over there. Now they kind of take a lot of the violent pictures and stuff, but they are very like factual based, and they don't talk about they'll say there's protests going on, all this other stuff, but they don't voice their opinion. They just say what's going on, and that's what's going on in the world. And so I do catch that, but as far as like anything I can bring up as like a fact and stuff like that, I don't. But I do know it's there's a lot of like pro-Palestinian people, and obviously pro-Israel. Now war is messy, and that's what I always say. So just try to pick one or the other side is kind of hard,
right?
Because you could say, yeah, Israel's bombing the crap out of these people and killing them and all this other stuff, and innocent people die. Same thing with Palestine, right? Like, Iran, all these people are basically backing Hamas,
right?
And those people are blowing buildings up, and they don't care who they kill, and they're kidnapping people, and cutting people's heads off, and all that other stuff that they do. So it's like, how can you justify one and not the other? But that's unfortunately how war is. I don't think Israel is trying to, and this is where I don't know the facts yet, but I don't feel like Israel was ever trying to conquer that area.
Yeah.
It's always been the Palestinians trying to get to the temple ground and like claim all that. It's always been.
Well, Hamas definitely is clear about their purpose and desire to exterminate Israel,
right?
Like to wipe it off the map. Like there's no debating that. And then to me, the history of the area, it doesn't matter to me. Like at some point, you just have to look at each event that happens and then decide if that was righteous or not. Right? That's kind of how I've been looking at it. Because the Palestinians and people that support, even the people that actually support Hamas. I mean, there is like a lot of the protesters are pro Hamas.
Well, I think a lot of American protesters don't have idea what they're protesting, because you look.
Well, there's some of that too.
College kids and
there's definitely some of that for sure. But I've seen debates, and then people, instead of it turns into this, well, Israel is this occupying force, or Israel, and it's like, wait a minute, are you trying to? And well, I'm not trying to justify October 7th, what happened there, but there is a reason why. And I'm like, okay, now you're starting to get over into you are trying to justify what happened on October 7th. The history of things really just plays because the history of wrong doesn't matter in current wrong. Like, it's not a way to justify current wrong. So if there's a history of wrong, I just don't see that as being important to the discussion of what's determining right and wrong right now in the current situation. So I don't like this. And then I get frustrated too when there's anything critical of Israel. It's anti-Semitism. It's, are you really trying to support Hamas? Like, no, I talked about this with Ron too, about being on the road. Like, I always want to try to see things as what is truth. And that's where I want to be aligned with.
Yeah.
And things can start to get in a ditch. Like, we can be on truth for a little while, and then all of a sudden, you go on a ditch, and I'm trying to stay on the truth. So I think that there is place to be critical of Israel and hold them accountable for the way that they're conducting, because I think they have a right to defend themselves, and the way that they're conducting things. In the beginning, it seemed like, yeah, this makes sense, but then they just like more bombs, more bombs, more bombs.
I mean,
and you're like, wait, whoa, hey, whoa.
Well, that's where you come, like, okay, if you are a defender of your home, right, and you're talking about this group, Hamas, and all these people are just like, why? What is the purpose of? What's their intention of attacking Israel? And when someone says, my intention is to exterminate every one of you on the planet,
right?
Would you give those people a chance to come back and do it again? To me, absolutely not.
Right.
Like, if you say you're going to exterminate my people, well, I'm going to do everything I can do to make sure that doesn't happen. And if that means I got to kill every one of you, then that's what's going to happen. Because it comes down to me or you, and I have a right to life just as much as you do.
Right.
And my family and my friends and my coworkers, everybody has a right to live. So if they want to take religion into it, well, the Muslim people are, not all of them, but a lot of them, they don't agree with Israel. There's a huge history of it,
Right.
It's all over the holy ground, right? So they don't like each other. Hitler did the same thing. Like, he wants to exterminate this race. Like, and you have to stop it. You can't allow it. You can't just say, okay, just bomb them a little bit and maybe they'll stop. No, it's been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
And so Israel said, if you don't stop, we will turn you into dust. I think was a quote that from one of the Israel people. And what Hamas do? Turn around and start launching more rockets. And Israel said, all right, you picked your choice.
Yeah.
And what Hamas is doing is trying to play to the world to buy more time and win them over.
Well,
and Israel doesn't, what people don't understand, Israel does not care.
Well, that's abundantly clear. And Hamas is just a puppet of Iran.
Right.
And their allies in their agreement of wanting to exterminate Israel. So I think that their plan from the get-go has always been to turn the world against Israel, and it'll make it a lot easier to take them out. And so Hamas, from Iran's standpoint, and from Hamas's leader standpoint, because that's the other thing, is their leaders are living the life of luxury in Qatar while all this is going, just pulling the strings over there. And they see that entire Gaza Strip as a millions of martyrs.
That's what they're trying to use.
That's all they see them as.
Unfortunately, some of them are. These children that have no idea what's going on, that are being killed, are martyrs.
Yeah.
But it's not because of Israel. Yes, it's because of Israel's bombing them, but it's because, like you said, the rich dudes over there are allowing it.
Right.
Their own people allowing their people to die.
Yes, but see, that's where I push back a little bit, where I get that Hamas is committing war crimes and hiding behind civilians that was clear too with that recent hostage. Did you see the hostage recovery where
the women got? Because I saw that.
Yeah, so they rescued the one woman that went viral when it first went down, and then they rescued 3 other males. But in the process of the rescue, as they were trying to get out, they started getting really heavy resistance. And at that point, it became either we're not going to get out and they're going to kill us all, or we do something drastic. And they like bombed the crap out of the area. And, and there was tons of civilians that were killed. It's hard to differentiate how many civilians versus how many militants, because of the way
it doesn't matter.
We just don't get.
They're all people. That's how I look at it, right?
Yeah, and where was I going with that? But they were purposely hiding the hostages and using civilians to hide them, and
that's every terrorist MO,
right? So there's war crimes that are happening from Hamas's standpoint, and they're going to use guerrilla warfare, and they're going to use all this thing. That's why I think, honestly, Israel is truly fighting a losing battle there. Without,
well, that's the thing. It's like, it's their people. They're trying to survive. It's their children. It's their families. Israel's trying to survive. Their hostages versus those peoples, and those people, the people in Gaza, the Hamas, all them that are putting their own people at risk, do not care.
Yeah, they don't.
Israel's not using their children as bodyguards,
right,
or human shields, or strapping bombs to their women and sending them to border patrols. Like, that's a different kind of guerrilla warfare.
Right.
Like, that's just, you're sacrificing your own people.
That's rooted in their ideology.
Right. But
where I push back though is Israel is still the one that pushes the button, right? And
I would too.
So knowing that without exhausting other means first, I guess, is,
I feel like
I don't know that I have
that at the beginning.
Not really. Their response was immediate and swift from how I remember it.
They got bombed first, right?
Well, October 7th happened, and basically their response to October 7th was like just bombing the crap out of Gaza.
But didn't they have a little a ceasefire there for a second? And that's where they gave their warning, like, to Hamas, saying, like,
I don't think so. I think so that's basically it was in the midst of bombing, like, there was just destroying that northern part of Gaza. And basically it was like, if you want the bombing to stop, then you give us the hostages back. And so it was just, they just, destroyed all kinds. You just crazy amounts of destruction.
So do you? It comes down to, do you? The way I look at things is like, if that's my friends, my family, my colleagues, people that are sacrificing themselves for our country, their warriors, whatever you want to call them, that are hostages, do you say, okay, they're not going to give them back, we stop? That's where I come, like, I would keep bombing them. Like, if you're not going to do it.
I don't think that was I don't think that was the best way. I don't even know how to say it the right way or how I want it. I don't think that was strategically. I see a difference in.
You think they should have negotiated?
Not negotiated.
But they're not going to. Hamas isn't
No,
going to negotiate.
I think not negotiate. There's a difference in what their response was. Their retaliation was vengeance. So there's a difference between righteous. What's the word I'm looking for? Righteous. Why can't I think of the word? Like justice. So there's righteous justice, and then there's a line, and then then it turns into vengeance. And I think they've been in vengeance the whole time. You know, they've
or is it they've had enough?
I think that there's a lot of factors that probably go into it with Netanyahu, the prime minister. He was right in the midst. That was October 7th was an embarrassment to him and his administration, because they were supposed to be this party of protection. So there was some of that was involved, was his ego and his anger towards that. I think that Israel has been waiting for a moment like that to flex their muscles against their enemies that want to exterminate them. And they wanted to show them F around and find out kind of thing. And because they hadn't had an opportunity to really showcase that yet. I mean, there's been skirmishes, there's been previous wars and stuff like that. I don't think to this scale that I know of. And I think they just wanted to show what type of dominance they could inflict on someone.
So they start bombing Israel, right? Or when did Hamas start launching missiles back?
Well, I mean, they tried to retaliate missiles back after. So October 7th was the catalyst that started the current war, where Hamas came into Israel's territory, killed people, kidnapped people, and then retreated back into Gaza. Israel responds by bombing the crap out of them. While they're doing that, I think there were times when Hamas tried to send bombs back, and there were times when they were successful in that. There was one time too that even a bomb that got blamed on Israel, I think, was actually one that malfunctioned from Hamas that
hit their own buildings. Yeah,
that like hit their own stuff that didn't make it, because they've got more primitive stuff, obviously. But that's Israel's stance has been the same from the beginning.
Well, yeah.
And
see, what
I just don't think that was. I think that.
But these people want to exterminate. Like,
I know.
Live in that moment. Like, we in America, we don't have to really worry a lot about that. We worry about, kind of trivial things we've talked about in old podcasts about how trivial America can be.
Yeah.
But to live next door to someone that says, I want to exterminate every one of you. And it's not like I'm just going to kill a couple. They want to exterminate.
Yeah, no,
and if they had a choice, if they had a button, if they had, the gauntlet that Thanos had and could snap their fingers, not only would every Jew in Israel be gone, but every Christian, every anything that did not align with their religion would be off this planet.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that. Now, that's okay
I
to
definitely
practice your religion,
understand that
religion and all that others, whatever your belief is. We can have differences in that, but when it comes to like you want to exterminate somebody else, that's where I draw a line. Like, if someone says they're going to exterminate me, I don't care any other reason or what someone's going to say. I'm going to do whatever I can do to stop that.
Well, I absolutely understand that that's a component to Israel's response. But at the same time, it's almost like they're doing the same thing that Hamas is doing. And then if you say that, like, oh, you're putting Israel on the same level as Hamas in terms of morality and all these things. In some ways, yes, I think that's a fair way to look at it when they know that there are going to be women and children that are going to be killed because of their actions. Now, people wanted to say, well, that's Hamas's fault, which, yeah, they share in that responsibility. But
well, it comes down to your people or my people.
That's what I'm saying, though. But so then how do you make that as a justification when their justification is on ideology and they say, well, it doesn't bother us to kill innocent people and kidnap children and burn their bodies or whatever they did, the horrific things they did on October 7th. And then Israel's response is doing the same thing and saying, well, we're the right side of this, so it's your fault that your children are being killed.
I truly don't think Israel has any desire to exterminate every Muslim.
I wouldn't use that kind of language, but I don't think they care about the Palestinian people either. They're angry at them.
They're, of course,
they're angry at all of them. And so I think if
Israel wanted to really like do some damage, they have nuclear technology. They could do.
I don't think Israel does.
You sure?
I don't think they have their own nuclear technology. Nuclear.
I think they have their own nuclear bombs, though. Whoever they got them from.
I don't know if they do. If they have it there, it's ours, and we probably control it. I don't think they have any. That would be. I don't think they do.
Google it. Pause and Google.
All right.
Because I thought they were.
All right. Unpause. Israel is widely believed to have nuclear weapons, but the Israel government has not confirmed or denied it. Estimates of Israel's stockpile range from 75 to 400 warheads, and the country is thought to have the ability to deliver them by aircraft, submarine, and ballistic missiles. Israel's first deliverable weapon may have been completed in the late 1960s, making it the 6th country in the world to develop them. Okay,
well, we don't know then.
That's Google's AI, so I don't.
Well, I mean, it tells you they haven't said they did, and they haven't said they didn't.
Yeah.
And no one really keeps tabs on them like we do North Korea. So,
yeah. So,
but
that's still
without nuclear powers, they have the ability to really do a lot of damage, even to Iran. Like,
well, yeah, I mean that
they could beat that whole place.
But I think they have their chest puffed up too because they have the backing of the United States. That's part of it.
Well, they have the UN too. Because the UN,
that has slipped big time because of the way they've reacted. That's why I'm saying there's also a strategic point to this in the international community that they played right into Hamas and Iran's hands, because that's why I said Iran. I think Iran the whole time sees that whole strip as a strip full of martyrs, and I think they played right into their strategy to. I think they might have even predicted that Netanyahu. I don't know if I'm saying his name.
Netanyahu. Close if you're right.
I think they predicted that he would respond this way, and this is exactly how they wanted him to respond because of the impact that it would have from the international community and the condemnation that would come with it and all this stuff. Now, I don't have all the perfect answers. I think they would have done better off with not negotiating. I think you still take a strong stance and say, listen, we are coming for you. You better run and hide. You better not poke your head out of any of your holes because we're coming for you. And I would
warn them about it.
I don't think so. I think they would have been better off using the international community's pressure for Qatar to deliver up what would become war criminals, right? If they go through this process of determining that the Hamas leaders were war criminals, and put pressure on Qatar to give them up. They use all of the United States capabilities for intelligence gathering, for special forces, and use that as ways to go in, find where these pockets, maybe be, use special forces to take them out. Now, because if you're using special forces and you're doing these smaller skirmishes, yes, there's still going to be pro-Palestinian people that are going to when civilians get killed in those instances. But as an example, like what they did recently with this hostage rescue, and I think that is much more understandable, I guess, when they say, hey, instead of bombing the crap out of these people, we're trying to do this in short and tiny little pockets of things, and doing this in ways. But when we meet resistance, like, we got to get out, and we're going to get our people out first. That to me is a way different than just bombing the crap out of them, constantly, and what it's turned into. So I don't think those are perfect answers, but I think those are way better ways of conducting it that show that it's not just about vengeance. Because to me, it's clear that this is just about vengeance, and it's about Netanyahu wanting to flex his muscles and show that, because it was a blemish on him. So I don't know. I guess I got out most of what I wanted to get out.
So I looked it up, and they did warn Gaza before they bombed them and drop leaflets giving civilians,
they do that,
the areas to go that would be safe.
Yeah. But even those sometimes, see, that's the other thing too, is then you have these incidents that happen where there was a bombing that happened that started a fire in an encampment that was supposed to be a safe zone.
Well, nothing says it's guaranteed.
Well, and so Israel comes out of it and is like, our bad. That wasn't supposed to happen. That was a mistake. Like,
but I mean, if you're going to pick a fight at this scale, the people in Gaza could push Hamas out if they wanted to.
I agree with some of that too. Because there are a lot of...
It cannot be... You can't tell... I have a hard time telling Israel, you guys need to be the bigger man. You need to be the bigger man. You're stronger, you're
so
tougher,
much that.
And I don't know. I just feel like maybe he is flexing his muscle, but also I think it's hundreds of years of being tired and exhausted and being fearful for your life all the time. It's a huge scare tactic. And, if that happened in America, like the anxiety it would cause, I think that another foreign force comes into your city, kills a bunch of people, and takes people away. And then just knowing their brutality and how they like to televise it and all these things that this horrible groups do.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
And they've been dealing with it on a daily basis. Like, I've talked to people that have lived and served in other countries, and how they hate fireworks here because it was so, like, they don't have fireworks in Israel. They don't have fireworks over in those areas because they think it's a bomb going off, because they're so used to that stuff. So,
well, and certainly,
just to live in that environment, got to make your decisions.
You're on your way to work, and all of a sudden, bomb alarms start going off. Like, that would be
like, we worry about tornadoes.
That'd be crazy. I just don't know that changes or justifies what their reaction has been. That's where I'm at.
Well, justification comes to, really the people that are doing it. Like, they obviously feel like they're justified.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it. That's not the determining factor of what's...
I mean, it's not a determining factor, but we need to get somebody in here that I feel like get President of Israel on here. I'm not going to say his last name because I'll totally butcher
Netanyahu.
Maybe he'll call on the podcast.
Well, because I look at everything now through that same lens, like I talked about of truth. I'm looking at it through
like biblical
my
truth,
Christian lens.
Well, yeah, and my Christian lens, none of it should be happening.
Well, I mean, obviously Hamas was wrong for October 7th. There's no way to justify it. Doesn't matter. That's the part where I'm like, it doesn't matter what the history is. What happened on October 7th shouldn't have happened. Well, they're in an open air prison. Okay, that doesn't justify the kidnapping of people and killing them and maybe or maybe not raping women. There's, supposedly people want to argue if that was real or true or not, which to me it's like like semantics, like we're arguing details of a horrific thing that was horrific no matter what.
Right.
So
you kidnap somebody.
Yeah,
after that point it's pretty bad.
Right.
All
firing, firing indiscriminately into a music festival full of people that are unarmed. Like that's just, there was a very specific purpose to instill fear but also to start a conflict. Like it was Hamas and Iran saw it as win-win when they pulled the trigger to have this operation. Either we make Israel look weak when they don't respond and they just try to negotiate with us, which I don't believe in being no response. That's not what I'm saying. Or they respond so heavily, and it's okay if all of the Gaza Strip is sacrificed as martyrs because it's for the greater good of the mission of destroying Israel, because the international community will see them as whatever, as war criminals and all this stuff. So I think they saw it as a win-win no matter what they did on October 7th, and that's why they carried it out.
What you're saying right now is whatever they did is diabolical, and Israel, to me, has the right to response in that.
I think Israel has a right to respond too.
Now, is it going to make them look bad? But at the end of the day, Israel has never cared about what anybody else has thought.
Well, I think they don't care because they have the United States to back them. And they also have a huge arsenal, right? They obviously displayed what they were capable of. And I think that was part of it too. But in a Christian lens though, not that you don't have, you can't seek justice as a Christian, but we're not supposed to seek vengeance. And so that's why I can't fully get on board with, at first it was like, wow, this is insane. Like, yes, I pray for Israel and, this and that, but I'm not going to put an Israel flag up, or I can't get behind a response that I believe is rooted in vengeance. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. I think that it's clear that it's more about vengeance than it is justice. I think that they're allowed to defend themselves. They're allowed to respond and have a response. I think they should have been more calculated, more strategic about how they responded. I think and to where that it didn't cross that line of vengeance. I think it was clear from the beginning that it was about vengeance, though. So that's my problem with it.
So that's kind of like what we did after 9/11 then.
Yeah, and I've had thoughts about that too, because that's my thing too, is has no one learned anything from what we went through in Afghanistan and Iraq and these long wars that we got into, that I don't know that you can declare victory on either one of those, especially Afghanistan.
Well, it's all money making.
And instead of we're trying to, I think corruption like that too is hidden in this idea of spreading democracy and to a people that don't want it. And Afghanistan was a clear example of that. There was corruption in Afghanistan. All of those leaders that got instilled after, and did the elections, they were all corrupt. They didn't care. They were just lining their pockets. And as soon as the United States are like, hey, we're out, they're like, okay, deuces, we're out too. We ain't fighting the Taliban. And they all dissolved. There literally was no Afghanistan army, nothing anymore. And that's how the Taliban just took everything back over. And Israel saying they don't want to be an occupying force in Gaza. What do you think is going to happen when you leave? You just bomb the crap out of these people. They're just going to rise up again eventually against you, because you've made them hate you even more, and they're just fed propaganda. They don't know any. They're only told what they're told.
I feel like whatever Israel did would have been. Someone's going to critique it as the wrong move.
Certainly that's true.
Like either they would have been weak, like you said, or did they be overzealous, like you said. So it's like, I don't know.
I think there was a better option though, because you're right. There's going to be critique no matter what, but I don't think it would have been what it has been if I think there could have been and I don't have all the answers, obviously. But something along the lines of using like what that rescue mission was, doing more stuff like that. Now I know that puts your soldiers at risk, but to me there's a obligation maybe to put your soldiers at risk when it comes to your soldiers versus a child. You know, I mean, you can't get much more innocent than children.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah. So anyway, so going back to, I guess, what you said about 9/11, I've thought about that too. Like our response was probably not.
Our response was 100% vigilant.
Yeah. I agree with you.
George Washington.
I think we should have kept looking for Osama bin Laden. We should until we get him, either he surrenders, like he needs to be brought to justice. And he did the same thing. He hid behind civilians for a long time. They finally found him. He never left his complex. He was surrounded by his family all the time. ISIS leaders did it. All kinds of leaders that we've gotten, they did it. And we had to wait until they slipped up just a little bit. And, you know, I don't give Obama much credit, but I give him credit for giving the green light on that mission to go get bin Laden. Cause that was to me, that was a big deal to give, you know, say, yeah, let's go get him. Given what could have been at stake.
They really got him.
All right.
They threw his body over the ocean. Why wouldn't they keep it?
Yeah, well, that's true, I guess. But maybe another topic for another day.
He's gone.
We're at 3.
He's not involved. Well, as far as we know, he's not involved.
We're almost at the hard stopping point. But I guess we can kind of bring it to wrapping up that, yes, there are things about even 9/11 that I'm like, if I had, I mean, I was, you know, even when we invaded Iraq a little bit later too, because I was a senior when 9/11 happened. And so I was right at that age of, you know, military stuff. And I mean, I was like, yeah, like let's
everybody,
kick their ass, you know, like, you know, I was all on board for vengeance. But I don't see the world that way anymore.
Right. That was George Bush's whole speech.
Yeah.
Like, we will not rest until these guys are dead, basically, is what he said.
Which I'm not necessarily against that. Like, if that's what it takes for justice, if they, like, I think there is a righteous justice that involves that.
Right.
But what it turned into, if we can't learn the lesson of what Afghanistan turned into.
Well, maybe we learned our lesson. I doubt it.
No,
you're talking about another country.
I mean, I don't think we have as a country,
well,
because there's so many people.
Well, our country is so divided, so messy. I'm surprised we even are able to hold ourselves together right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, we're talking about another country, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to put myself in their shoes, or if I do, like, I feel like I would kind of respond in the same way, because it's like being bullied. People that be bullied for years and years and years, and finally they snap.
Yeah. And again, I'm not
all
saying
of a sudden they just say,
and that's what I'm saying is I'm not like on the side of like there being no response. I'm just saying that the way that they did response is vengeance, and I'm not gonna just chant with you on that. You know, well, not you, but like chant. I don't mean,
don't put words in my mouth.
I don't mean chanting with you. I meant chanting with whoever might be listening. I don't
see enough that I can say that that's for sure what they're doing is vengeance. Like, could you say they're overzealous and went too far? Maybe.
I just think that's a different way of saying it, though. Like,
no, because
putting different words on it.
It's like if you get abused long enough and you finally fight back, and all that abuse and all those feelings, a lot of people get carried away, and all of a sudden it turned into a fist fight and you murdered somebody, kind of thing. Like all that,
but none of that
fear, all that stuff.
But none of that justifies the murder.
I'm not saying it's like justified. We're talking about vengeance.
Right, but that's what
I think war, none of it's justified. I don't think what Hamas did is justified. I don't think what Israel is justified, but like,
well,
I
that's
feel
what
like
we're
people,
talking about, though.
well, I feel like people have a right to do what they need to do.
I don't know. It kind of seems like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth there with that.
I'm not that talented. Well, to me, vengeance is like more it's not black and white to me, I guess. Like I'm trying to figure out how I can explain it. Like, well, vengeance is almost like premeditated. Like they were waiting for this time. It might have been. Well, it might have been, it might not.
Because there's also reports that Israel basically knew that something was going to happen and they ignored it. And I almost think that it's plausible that Netanyahu that he ignored it on purpose.
Well, that's just like saying,
because he thought, okay, here's the moment I've been waiting for.
That would be saying Pearl Harbor was the same thing because we knew about it. 9/11, we pretty much, nothing has come out for sure yet, but maybe when we're dead and gone,
there had to have been some intelligence that something big was imminent,
right? Yeah. So, but we didn't respond. One, we didn't. World War II, they didn't really believe it. They thought it was a mistake or whatever.
Right.
But now our technology is so much better. You had to know that they knew. So what's the motive behind that? Why did they allow it to happen? Maybe because they didn't want to over respond, or they didn't want to.
I don't know. There's just a lot of weird things.
So maybe he did, and maybe there's a reason why he didn't respond, or maybe I don't know.
Maybe he didn't. He knew something was going to happen, and he thought, okay, we'll
let too many variables.
He made maybe if it was plausible that he let something happen, maybe he didn't think it was going to be to the extent that it ended up being.
Like, to me, I don't know this guy, and he might be the worst person on the planet. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what I would do in his shoes, and that's how I feel like. And we don't know. Maybe they took the intelligence and tried to do something and they did something wrong. I don't know, and it still happened. Or they, who knows in that scenario. But to me, vengeance is like premeditated. Like if he was like, I know they're going to come here, they're going to kidnap these people, and they're going to do all this stuff, and I'm not going to do anything, so I can go bomb the crap out of them. Yes, that's wrong. But if they were suspected or expected or whatever, suspected something to happen, and they didn't respond because they didn't think it would happen, or they tried to do something and it didn't work out or whatever, and then they respond and they just went overzealous because they may be embarrassed, maybe all of it, embarrassment, fear, who knows. Obviously not feared for themselves, but maybe they're feared for their people. Maybe they genuinely care about their people. I don't know. I feel like our government doesn't, but maybe they do. I don't know.
I think
that's the difference between vengeance and what you call justified, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at with it, but thanks for letting me get that off my chest. Been holding that in for a while. Especially because I know it comes with a lot of criticism, or it can, where people are so scared to speak out, to call Israel out, because it's like then you're automatically on the side of Hamas, or you're an anti-Semite, or all these things. It's not anti-Jew anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Criticism against Israel. It's really not even the Israeli people. Like, it's the Israeli
it could
government.
Be anywhere. It could be any Russia, Ukraine. Like, it could be on any side. Like, whatever. And everything's like perspective. Like, we don't know how the Israel people perceive it versus the Gaza people versus people in Russia versus people in Great Britain. It'd be interesting to see what other people feel, but or comment on. That'd be great to hear other opposing views, maybe somebody with some extra information that we don't know or we haven't discovered. Like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of research.
I'm gonna have to do it. I made a thumbnail. I'll show it to you when we stop recording. I think I'm gonna have to use that as our thumbnail, maybe because I think it'll be good clickbait.
Is it the Israel president's eyes flaming red? Because I've seen
no, but
people do that. Like they show his picture and his eyes are look like Superman's eyes before he shoots his lasers.
Yeah. I gotcha. All right, we're at an hour and a half. I had a hard stop before, and I've got 9 minutes. So I think that was good. Glad you're back. You can always, even when I have guests, you can always join in with the guests.
2 cents.
Yeah. So, all right, that's my 2 cents on California wage increase. What else did we talk about?
We try to get the lizard people, but
I'm not diving into that.
That'll be the next one.
All right, then I'll do my special peace sign.
What is that?
It's the new peace. The way the kids do the peace sign.
Oh, I learned this.
You got to do middle finger up. What's that?
A heart.
Oh, I heart you. Oh, wait, this way.
Yeah.
All right, you heart. I'll try not to flick everybody off.
Hey, I see how you feel. Just because we disagree on something.
Deuces.
Oh, and like, subscribe, and share.
Oh yeah,
it helps everybody.
That. Yeah. Make sure you smash that like button.
Yeah.
And subscribe. Because if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, come
on, bro.
What's wrong with you? Come on. All right.
Oh, brother out.
Love y'all.
I'm a little lizard standing on a rock because the sand is too hot.